Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship, New Jersey Museum and Memorial. One of the most common questions that we've been getting here at the museum lately is, I have this bullet or piece of ammunition, is it live? First of all, there are a ton of resources out there to go to if you suspect you have live ammunition, and you should go to them, don't go to a museum. I am not an expert on that, and this video is not going to be a comprehensive description of all the ways you can tell. We're going to talk about some of the ammunition we have here at the museum and how we can prove that it's inert. But if you've got something with any doubt at all, find a number for your local law enforcement or explosive ordnance detachment. We have had to call EOD out to the museum to look at stuff before, and other museum ships have had the same issues in the past. And I realize that many of you are reaching out to us because you don't want your projectile to be taken and blown up by EOD or destroyed in some way. But if you have any question about this sort of stuff, don't put your house, your family, your neighbors at risk. Get it destroyed. So the first thing that you want to keep in mind with real ordnance that you're not sure is it live or not is, do you have the same number of pins as grenades? It is okay to have more pins than grenades, but if you have more grenades than pins, you've got about 10 seconds to run. We'll come back to the grenade a little bit later. So first of all, doing some research into the type of projectile will usually help you out. This is a type of 5-inch ammunition. Now, 5-inch ammunition or 127 millimeter or various millimeters that are close to that all come in pretty similar sizes. Even 6-inch ammunition or 155 millimeter is often very hard to distinguish from 5-inch ammunition. So one of the first things you want to do, especially with larger ammo like this, is to measure it and use a ruler that is both inches and millimeters so you can see, yeah, no, this is exactly 5 inches, or no, this is 120 millimeters instead of 127. And that'll help narrow it down. The Army tends to use millimeter-based weapons. They served with the French army in Europe during World War I when a lot of these types of projectiles were coming into practice, and so they have just used that ever since then, while the Navy did not, and they continue to use inches. Once you have figured out the diameter of it, that helps give you some information. You can start looking up 5-inch ammo. Then the height will often get you there. So for example, the US Navy, you know this is a US Navy round. Your uncle who gave it to you was a gunner's mate in the Navy. So it's 5-inch round, obviously, but is it a 5-inch 38 or a 5-inch 54, a 5-inch 63, 5-inch 51, 5-inch 25? Measuring the height, finding that sort of information out will usually help you get there. And this is a 5-inch 38 caliber round. So now we can start looking into it more. 5-inch 38 caliber live rounds tend to have a brass base ring and then be a steel body. Well, this thing is all brass and it doesn't have a base ring. So this isn't actually designed to be fired from a gun. There's no ring around the bottom to grip the rifling. So that's going to tell us that this one probably inert. It was never designed to be fired out of a gun. This is just for use with a 5-inch practice loading machine. So it doesn't go in a real gun, can't be fired. It is just an actual weight, roughly the right size and shape round for training. Another good giveaway for training rounds like this, it does have a base ring on it, but it's painted all blue. So for example, this training grenade has a blue spoon on it. So you see that color blue on a projectile, it's almost certainly a training round. You definitely want to look into it and make sure, hey, this is actually the original coat of paint on it, or like did somebody just slap a fresh coat on it that's blue? And having things like the military numbers stenciled on it usually helps with that. Another thing, when the museum gets projectiles like these, when the military's getting rid of them, we get inert certificates that go along with them. So like for all of these 5-inch rounds that we got, whether they're the blue BL&P rounds or the brass practice loading machine rounds or the 16-inch rounds that we've got either on display on the ship or out in the parking lot, we've got inert certifications that go with them. Many of these even came with inert stickers slapped on them. So we can check the serial number on this and the serial number on the certificate to make sure that this is legitimate. Now, if you're at a museum, you probably have that already. If your uncle just grabbed this for you and gave it to you as a birthday present, that might not help you out so much. So, some other things you can look at are, is it just a casing like this one? There are a couple of things that you want to look at with a round that could have explosives in them. The casing here is where the powder would be. So if there's any powder in there, it could still be explosive. At the base of the casing is the primer. That can also contain some explosive. That's what sets off the powder that's in here. So even though there's no powder in here, let's say somebody pulled the bullet out of the top and dumped all this powder out, well, this primer could still have some explosive in it. So you might want to look out for that. And then, of course, the third part is the projectile itself at the top. Here's a round that's got the projectile, the body, and then you can see where the primer should be on the bottom. So, something to look for. I've got this. It's got no projectile. It's got no powder, but it could still be dangerous. And looking at this primer, I can see that it has been struck by a firing pin to set it off. So you notice it's got a dimple in it. It's not completely smooth anymore. So this primer has been fired before. It's also not flush with the bottom of the casing anymore. So that's one thing to look at. If it's empty, the primer's damaged or removed, the projectile's removed, then it's probably safe. So next we come to something like this. It's still got the projectile, and part of what helps me tell with this is it's very top heavy. If this still had powder in it, then it would be heavy throughout. This is really only heavy at the top end because of this projectile. Notice that the projectile's loose in there. The projectile's been removed, the powder's been removed. You can see that they're proving that essentially by drilling holes in it. And even the primer's been removed. So since we can look inside and see there's no primer, there's no powder in the case, the projectile's the only thing to worry about. And in this case, it's got a serial number on it, so we're able to look that up. We can unscrew this and see that there's no powder inside of this either. Again, this really isn't something that you should do on your own. This is something that you would want to get an explosives expert to do, and that's not a museum employee like myself. That would be getting law enforcement or military EOD involved in some way if you have any doubt, because messing with these, you could cause them to go off. Oftentimes, the older they are and the less consistent the temperature and the humidity they've been stored at, the more likely they are to go off. Okay, so here we have a couple more smaller rounds. Again, this one has a round in it still, but it's just a solid chunk. It's got a hole drilled straight through the middle, so we know there's no powder in it. And looking at the bottom where the primer is, you can see that that primer is dimpled. It has been fired. So this was a fired round that somebody then drilled a hole in to make it into a keychain, a necklace, something, and then they put an inert bullet in it before selling it or putting it on display. Likewise, this is one of the original primers that fires a 16-inch gun. You can see that it has been expended. If this was all depressed and this had some more weight to it, might be worried that it was still live. This has been expended. It is empty when you look inside. And then the primer on the back has been dimpled. Things like this, you got to be careful with because they can also be fired electronically, which means that the primer on the back of the primer proper might not be dimpled, but it might still have gone off just because of pulling the electric firing key, puts an electric charge into the case that sets off that primer, that sets off everything else. So again, Just because you've watched this video, which again is not comprehensive, and you've checked the handful of things I've told you to take a look at, does not mean that the thing is safe. When somebody says that they want to donate ordnance, one of the things that I'm looking at right off the bat is for those sorts of indicators. Is the primer dimpled? Is it missing the round? Or is the round coming apart in pieces? Does it have holes in the casing, or is the casing visibly empty? And if I'm not seeing those visual cues right away, then I'm likely not going to accept that round as a donation regardless. Now, most of our ammo that's on display has come from the Navy, and so it's coming certified inert because it has to go across EOD's desk before it comes to us. And so we're getting that sort of verification already. But like your John Smith Public and your uncle gave you this and you want to donate it to the museum, I'm going to be looking at a couple of these things before I'm even willing to let you bring it to the museum to look at, because I don't want to endanger myself, you, the public, anyone like that. Okay, so those are some of the visual indicators you can use to try and figure out if you're safe in the presence of ammunition. Now, again, not comprehensive at all. Seek professional help, and that professional help does not come from a museum. But with that, I'm going to put a pin in it. So, this is the United States of America. We all have hand grenades. Do you have the same number of pins as hand grenades? Let us know in the comment section down below. Do you prefer pineapples, lemons, or baseballs? Let us know down below. I'm classic. I like the pineapple. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below for ways you can donate to support the museum. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find about the museum and our channel. Thanks for watching.